My name is James Williams Jr., and this is Kung Fu Habit number 2. And if you watched my last video, I was talking about comics and graphic novels and things like that. And I've lost track of what I wanted to say, as I probably should have just kept going on the other video. But I was talking about comics and graphic novels, so that should hopefully kick back in. If you're going to read, you want to read polished stuff. And you want your polished stuff to be able to keep you up to speed on what's going on. So, like I said with the other video, if you put everything from decade to decade to graphic novel, and now we're back on track. So, I'm going to explain this to you guys about my comic book lust, if you would. Alright, so I'm back on track, and I was about to say something about everything connected to the X-Men. Alright, because that's where I was going, and I just kind of like slipped out. So, here's my saying. Each X-Men has been on another team or another at one time before or after being an X-Man. Now, the thing with Wolverine and Alpha Flight, he is actually in the comics. You have to go back and find them, but he's actually there. So if you want to dig into him, you want to read Alpha Flight. So here's my saying. Yeah, I had the family tree thing. So you can plant Wolverine over here as Weapon X and Alpha Flight, but he was Alpha Flight. And then as they dove into his past, he was Weapon X. And then X-Men. A couple solo times, Avenger, Fantastic Four, etc. So you can track him that way. And it's the same thing that can be said for his descendants, who one becomes an enemy of the Guardians of the Galaxy, who tries to take his adamantium bones to have them infused into her after he has been dead for centuries. Because clearly, the Guardians of the Galaxy was like in the 31st century. Yondu's an old motherfucker. That's all I can say. Anyway, fucking, if they made him the same Yondu from Vance Astro, if he's way back in raising Quill, then yeah, Yondu would be an old motherfucker. But what basically was, it was, I guess, alternate timeline. But they were deep in the future. I think I added enough deeps in there. But each one of these comics have a link to an X-Men. Alright? Guardians of the Galaxy with Vance Astro had a link to Wolverine. Alright? Alpha Flight has a link to Wolverine. You feel a theme going there? Alright? Psylocke, Rogue, all of them were somewhere else before they were X-Men. Psylocke was a member of her twin brother. They did things over in England. It wasn't really known or whatever, but they and Black Tom Cassidy all were on their way to becoming part of X-Men's little comic book, because Brian became the leader of Excalibur. I guess his idol was Union Jack. I kind of forgot what the heck Brian Braddock's powers is, but he's a twin, so him and Betsy share a link, or should we call her Elizabeth Braddock? Anyway, their link to each other at the X-Men are due to Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler, who were actually X-Men, and you won't really find them in any other books unless it was like Strange Tales or some shit like that. Now, almost every Marvel superhero probably made an appearance in Strange Tales. Now, I could be wrong. Pretty sure I might be wrong. I know Spider-Man was in Strange Tales. I know that other X-Men also were in Strange Tales, but I can't remember. So let's count it down to all the X-Men team books that I read, and some that didn't really last at all. All right. So Rusty and Skids were Morlocks, who became X-Terminators. With I can't remember the little Chinese kid, but he also was a friend of Leech and his brother. And then he had Boom Boom, Rusty, Skids, and Richter. Those were all X-Terminators. All right, who would later join New Mutants, who would later become X-Force. The first 5 X-Men became X-Factor, alright, who were secretly working for the government and secretly hiding mutants away in like a witness protection program type thing, where the X-Men were considered outlaws because they all died in Dallas thanks to Forge and a spell, and then thanks to Roma, they were reincarnated where they could never be picked up on camera. So if I was an X-Men and you were looking at me right now, it would be all blurry and shit. The way they could have kept going with that. Now let's drop down to Jubilee, who was an X-Men who Wolverine met when they kept traveling back and forth to Australia, because somehow she hitched a ride from California to Australia. She saved him and was crucified by the Reavers, who was Lady Deathstrike's gang, who Wolverine was married to way back when. He killed her father. She married him out of seeking revenge, etc., etc. But by then he had forgotten all about whoever the hell he was, etc., etc. Jubilee winds up going to Generation X, which is led by Emma Frost and Banshee. Emma Frost, Hellfire Club. She was the White Queen. She led the Hellfire Club. Who Firestar was actually a member of the Hellfire Club and not the X-Men. But sooner or later, they kind of collaborated, so you might as well say she was an X-Men. You know, and if you go by the Spider-Man's Amazing Friends comics, then she was an X-Man. So just go whatever the hell you want. But Iceman was always an X-Man. And I think he does become an Avenger somewhere in the future or some shit. But he went to X-Factor and became an X-Man again. So then, let's go after Generation X. And then you have Excalibur, Generation X, X-Factor, X-Terminator, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, X-Men Classic. So those are my Marvel rundowns on X-Men. And every now and again, Spider-Man would swing in and be an X-Man, and they've collaborated with the likes of Ghost Rider and other people. So, you know, you kind of got to twist it in there. And then if you want to link things up with Spider-Man. Spider-Man teams up with Blade to try to save Morbius, and then Morbius and Blade and the original Ghost Rider become the Night Stalkers. So, you know, you gotta find a genre that you want to read, but if you want to be like incredibly knowledgeable about all comics, then just read them all. This is the thing about reading comics, though. Comics tend to deviate just when they're getting good. I mean, when they're getting like great, and you start bombing, you can't put them down. And then along comes Scarlet Witch, who miscarries with her like third or fourth child with Vision, and somewhere along the line, I guess the writers who came in to write this story forgot that she had twins way back in the late 70s, early 80s, like 84, 85, either between the two Secret Wars, but she had twins with Vision. I have the comic downstairs somewhere. But she has twins with an android. So what would miscarrying one child, what made that child so special that she completely fucked up the Marvel Universe? I have no idea. I don't care. Because that's why I stopped reading the comic books. Thank you, Scarlet Witch, for fucking up my comic book reading life. Anyway, as I get ready to close out, you know, I really can't blame Scarlet Witch because she's not a real person, but, you know, the fact that they put the blame on her for screwing up all the mutant universes and all this, and how the mutants had to be stuck on Xavier's with the Gifted, and instead of having millions of mutants, they're like next to none. And the same thing with the Age of Apocalypse, where Wolverine gets his left hand or his right hand. One of them is completely cut off, so he has like this metal thing. I think it has one claw, while his other hand has the claws. You know, you gotta read these books if you want to know what I'm talking about, or Google them. They probably are all digital now, so you probably can just scoop them all up on a little S drive or whatever the hell you call those little things. Yeah, they don't do floppy disk anymore. We know that for sure. But, you know, if you're going to be a comic fan, here are the things that you must know. Comics always deviate. People who you thought are dead and should stay dead never stay dead. The people that you want to not be dead often die. They bring them back just to kill them worse the second time around, and then they leave them on the shelf until they can find some kind of person like me to come in with a storyline to make things exciting and thrilling and make sure that people want to keep that character in there. I was really mad when they killed Psylocke off after she started a relationship with Warren Worthington III. For those who do not know who Warren Worthington III is, he is Angel. He will be in the X-Men First Class Apocalypse movie. Which is kind of strange that he wasn't in the first one, which I have touched on this plenty of times, but we're going to touch on it again. I'm going to stop now. I want you guys to think about some of the things I've said, and remember, the most important thing about reading a comic book is be prepared for the deviation, because the deviation will make you or break you. The deviation with the X-Men universe or whatever with Scarlet Witch, it broke me. All right, I'm not gonna lie. I was about to give up anyway, because you had to read, like, if you read like Civil War, if you read Skrull Invasion and stuff like that, you had to cross over a couple of comics. And if you read Onslaught, you had to cross over damn near every comic in the Marvel Universe that had a mutant in it. So, like I said, comics tend to deviate. And when they deviate, like I said, this will either make you will break you as a comic fan. It broke me, and I hadn't picked up another comic book since Banner got ripped out of the Hulk's chest, and then it started going from downhill from there. He never really fucked with the X-Men, but he fucked up the Fantastic Four. He fucked the X-Men up, but he didn't like destroy them, but he fucked them up. And then come to find out at the end, it was a combination of Magneto and Xavier, the two strongest mutants supposedly in the world. Because Magneto, he's like Therex or whatever, as long as his feet are on solid ground, or as long as he's on the Earth, he's the most powerful being with metal, and Earth is basically practically metal because a lot of our metal come from Earth materials, and apparently we have a magnetic charge inside of us, so it's amazing that he hasn't figured out how to do that yet. Kind of like blood bending. Alright, well anyway, I'm closing out. I'm James Williams Jr. Thank you guys very much for paying attention to my little rants. Be seeing ya.